Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about books, but not directly. We're going to talk about my reading goals for 2025. Basically my resolutions. I don't know why people shy away from saying resolutions. Not too many because it's my first year creating content. It's my first year fully tracking all my books. So I'm trying not to put too much pressure on myself. And sometimes when you turn it into homework, that's exactly what ends up happening. One of my most important goals for 2025 is to read older books and older series, things that I didn't get to read when I was younger, either because I couldn't, wasn't allowed to, whatever, didn't get my hands on. I've been doing pretty good actually. I just finished Daughter of Smoke and Bone. I'm about to pick up the second book in that series. Kind of goes along with one of my other reading goals for the year. There's a bunch of books that I'm going to be reading. I referenced some of them in my 25 for 2025. Some of the older books that I plan to read, older series I want to start this year. But my focus is really to kind of like delve back into some of the OG fantasy and sci-fi stories out there. Like I've said before, I spent a really long time reading just romance. So my goal this year is to kind of go back to my roots of fantasy and sci-fi. Of course, I'm going to include other types of genres in there too, but my focus is primarily on rediscovering those two genres, and part of that is going back in time a little bit. I'm not necessarily putting a ban on myself this year, like a book buying ban. I don't believe in that. If I want to buy a book, I want to buy it, and if I have the funds, the means to do so, then I'm going to, because I worked really hard for the money that I earned. So if I want to buy myself a book, I should be able to. However, I do really want to focus on my physical TBR this year. I feel like I have amassed quite a collection of books. It's really not that impressive at all, but I've amassed enough of them where I should take the year to kind of focus on reading what I have. And this does come in conjunction with using the library more. When I moved out here to Rhode Island, I never got a library card, and I kind of became a stranger to the library. So after New Year's, I did go get one. They were super nice. And today, actually, I went and I got my first little library haul. It was actually really exciting. I was a little nervous though, super disoriented. And I forgot that the books usually have stickers on the spine that tell you what genre they are. But it's fine because the ladies that were there were super nice and so willing to help me, thank God. So yeah, just focusing more on my physical TBR, the books that I already own, and then adding in the books from the library that I want to read, books that I want to read but I don't necessarily need to own, if that makes sense. Now, this isn't to say that I'm not going to be participating in some of the new releases this year. I have mentioned this before, but I am a single mom and I have a regular 8 to 5 job just like everybody else. So I don't really have a ton of free time, a ton of time to myself, unless my daughter goes to her grandma's or something like that. One of my goals for 2025 is to devote time to reading. For right now, I'm gonna stick to about 2 hours a day, but I do have a project in mind for like about March, around my birthday, that I would really like to get some videos posted for, and that will require that I split my attention between reading and this other project. And I don't want to talk about it too much, because if it's something that doesn't work out, I don't want to have set the expectation that I was going to do it and then turns out that I failed, obviously. So that's why I'm not talking about it. But one of my goals for 2025 is definitely to devote time to just reading. I was reading before, and I do read quite a bit, but it's kind of like jumbled. It's whenever I can pick a book, whenever I can do this, whenever I can do that. I never set the time aside. And I think that's really important as someone who's kind of lost themselves in motherhood, is to take the time and set it aside for myself to do the thing that I want to do, the thing that I enjoy doing. So that is one of my most important goals for 2025. So yeah, I started with 2 hours. We'll see how it goes. I have been listening to audiobooks quite a bit, but I'm not counting that as part of my 2 hours, just because I tend to be doing other things when I'm listening to the audiobooks. And my last goal for 2025, and probably the one that I want to put the most emphasis on, if I'm being honest, is to finish series faster. I get second book and third book syndrome. Second book, I'm always worried that the second book won't be as good as the first book, so I hesitate to pick it up. Next thing you know, it's been 6 months and I haven't finished the fucking series. And then I get third book syndrome when I like a series and I don't want to pick up the third book because I don't want it to end. And then I just stall. And I pick up other series before I pick up the third book in one. And I really need to stop. I need to get it together. I need to get my life together. So one of my biggest and most important goals for 2025 is to finish series in a reasonable amount of time. Point in case. I started the Protectorate series in November, I think it was. I read the first book in November. I read the second one, I think, beginning of December. I have yet to pick up the third book. So one of my books for January will be Catalyst Gate. Same thing goes with the Bloodsworn. I just started Daughter of Smoke and Bone, and I'm like stalling to pick up the second one, even though the audiobook is ready on Libby and I have the physical copy. But I just like don't want to go in because I know after the second book, I'm only going to have one more left. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it just is not a healthy lifestyle to maintain, especially because most of the books I'm picking up I am enjoying. So, like, I'm literally just stalling for nothing. There's really no reason for me to stall. So, you guys can hold me accountable. If you see me reading anything that is not part of a series that I've already started, call me out. Do it nicely, but call me out. I'm really excited to see, how I do with them. I'm not putting too much pressure on myself. Again, I don't want to turn anything into homework because then I won't be as invested in it, but I do want to set some goals for myself, some expectations for this year, just to see what I'm capable of. Life gets crazy. Sometimes you lose yourself, sometimes you lose your way. Even what counts is you getting yourself back on track and recognizing that you maybe have fallen off the wagon and getting yourself back up. So that's what I'm gonna do. These are just reading goals for my life. I have set like other goals in my personal life. Again, it's just keeping myself accountable for what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, the quality of it. I'll probably check in about midway through the year, see how I'm doing with my goals, see if I need to make any adjustments, of course, because sometimes things don't work the first time around, and it's okay. Like, it's okay if you set a goal and the way you plan to get there isn't the way that's working. I have no problem switching it up. So that's what I plan to do around middle of the year if I feel like I'm getting stagnant or anything like that. So drop a comment. Let me know if you have any goals for 2025 when it comes to your reading or your book consumption, whatever it might be, and happy reading.